大家好，欢迎收看今天的全球瞭望，我是郭崇伦。我们今天要特别邀请到波兰台北办事处的处长梅西亚先生，跟我们一起来讨论他在台北的3年半他的感想，以及身为一个对于中国方面的观察家，他怎么样来看中国大陆以及台湾跟中国大陆之间的关系。Welcome, Director General Gaca, to be on the show.
Thank you and welcome. Thank you and welcome.
First of all, I'd like to ask you, I was told that you are leaving Taiwan after the summer, and I'm interested to know that you have been in Taiwan for 3 years and a half. Reflecting on your time here, how do you see, what kind of impression you have for Taiwan, in general, in political, or in the people you met?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. It's a very wide open question indeed. But my first reflection is that time is passing so quickly that it's not 3.5 years, it's 4.5 years.
4 years, I'm sorry.
But time is passing quickly whenever you feel comfortable in the environment. This is my very first remark, that I feel very comfortable here on many possible ways. Working and living in Taiwan. Well, this country, as I have comparison to mainland China, in which I worked before, is completely different in many possible aspects. But what I like, hospitality, definitely. The better air standards.
Okay.
The healthiest food standards. But on daily basis, the communication within the people, on practical at work, on practical approach at work, it's also important that I have no any problems with communication with my peers and colleagues. Doesn't matter whether from the central administration in Taiwan, any local level. I mean, any fields of the professional activity. So it's very important. Some other important aspects definitely are the natural landscape and the advantage of accessibility to the nature, and the communication network, very informative sources to find the options, where to go, how to go. This is very convenient.
So, have you been outside of Taipei? Where do you like besides Taipei in Taiwan?
Well, many places. I mean, it's hard to say about one, because if I mention just one place, then maybe some other friends from some other places will be a bit jealous, and I'm happy with it. Though, as I said, I like nature, so going in any nature-related places with the North Coast, East Coast, as well as going into the mountains, Alishan, Taroko, then have the flavor of slow-mo and culture, to go to Tainan. As I said, many places and many different, but only good feelings.
And during the 4.5 years you're here, there's quite a big changes between Taiwan and Poland, the bilateral relations. How had bilateral relations been changing for this period?
Yeah, also a very good question. Well, we observe a new unprecedented dynamic in the relations between Poland and Taiwan. During my posting here, we signed 6-7 important agreements. Bilateral agreements, and in 2016 we signed an agreement on avoiding double taxation. So this agreement creates new opportunities, especially in the area of foreign investment. And this move has been supported somehow by opening of the Polish Trade and Investment Office permanent representation here in last year. So now it's time for both Taiwanese and Polish businesses to move on with the investments on both sides. But there are some more important achievements. Last year we signed the agreement on scientific higher education and academic collaboration, also an important milestone. There are a lot of potential. There is a huge potential on both sides. Poland is perceived as a country of very creative people. Indeed, we have, an abundance now of companies and small companies with the IT, ITC, AI, CCI, very creative people expanding their businesses now all around the globe. And the connection with Taiwan, which is known by also creativity, but also a very high standard approach to commercialization of inventions. We find a common ground here.
How about the people-to-people exchange? A lot of tourists, for instance, going to Poland, or a lot of students studying in Poland?
Well, of course, for many reasons, Poland was for many years terra incognita for Taiwanese friends. It is changing with the recent years. First of all, we signed working holidays agreement a couple of years ago, with steadily growing number of young people going to both countries. On the other hand, the exchange of the students and opportunity to study in Poland is known in Taiwan for the last 20 years. And we for the first time accepted Taiwanese students studying. For now, there is a big number, over 800 students studying from Taiwan, studying in Poland.
Most in music, or?
No, most in medicine.
In medicine,
Yes, in medicine, they constitute 80% of all the students studying in Poland. We keep a very high standard. The competitiveness of Polish universities, medical universities, keeping the high standards and offering lower costs than in many other countries for studying there. What I know is that more than 80% of those students are going back to Taiwan. Some of them continue directly their career in North America, some of them stay in Europe. But it created another field of people-to-people contact.
Right.
Just last year, we registered at least 20 new born kids from the couples that were the results of long-term staying in Poland. And the number of the Taiwanese Polish families is growing steadily. So we are witnessing actually the creation of new Polish diaspora here. Because there were no formal relations or any sort of relations or recognition just 20-something years ago. So if we have a small group of Poles residing here, living here, which is about 350 people. The most experienced people live here not longer than 22, 23 years. But now we are coming into the age of new generation coming. So I hope that this is the real aspect of this people-to-people contact.
I want to bring the subject to the political development.
Please.
How do you see the political development in Taiwan? Compare with what's happening in Poland, because both countries have experienced some kind of political transformation without accompanying with violence. I think that is one of the very important things that is very different from other countries. And how do you see and how do you compare with that kind of political changes happening in Poland and in Taiwan?
Thank you. Very good question. Well, in my opinion, both Poland and Taiwan did a fantastic job moving from an authoritarian regime to fully fledged democratic societies.
And it's about at the same time, right?
It's about the same time. It was 1986. In our case, it's 1988, 1989, in fact. So it seems that the nature of democratic transformation in Taiwan was more evolutionary. As we came to gradually loosened its grip on power, whereas in Poland, the change of the government was rather well, not unexpected, but the moment was very unexpected. Following the first partially democratic election that took place in Poland on June 4th, 1989. And unfortunately, on the very same day that Poland was celebrating its transition from the authoritarian regime to democratic country, peaceful demonstrations on the Tiananmen Square were fired at by the communist troops with rifles and tanks. So against this background, the non-violent political transition, both in Poland and Taiwan, appears even more impressive.
One of the things that reminds me of how similar Poland and Taiwan are is that that both countries have to face with the strong and aggressive neighbors. In terms of Taiwan, it's China. But in Poland, in terms of Poland, it used to be Soviet Union, and now it's Russia. And what is that factor have the effect on the people in both countries, you think?
Well, I think that there are a lot of similarities here. First of all, that we have different views on the historical aspect, the current political sensitivity, and it's accompanied by completely approach to people contact.
Right.
Because my no experience with Russian people, I mean people-to-people contact, was always positive. As I understand that the contact, people-to-people contact, is mostly positive for Taiwanese and people and Chinese citizens of PRC. But when it comes into, of course, into politics and a possible threat, we are aware of the threats, and we have to have very cautious approach. And first and foremost, we need to be very pragmatic. What I see, what I observe here in my years in Taiwan, I see very pragmatic approach for now. And I fully hope that this pragmatic approach will be continued.
We're going to talk about that also later on. But before we finish this session, I also like to ask you about the recent European Parliament elections. And what do you think the result of the election tells us about the future of Europe, and or how would the Europe heading to after this election?
Well, the results of European Parliament elections does not constitute or did not constitute a major shift in the balance of power. I mean, the main political parties maintained their leading positions, though it was to some extent weakened. And it is true that in some EU member states we have been observing a steady rise of the Eurosceptic and populist movements. Well, I hope that this will allow us to inject new blood into united Europe and somehow refresh the politicians' approach to have a better new starting point with the currently elected EU Parliament. What is also important that we observed significant change. I mean, a number of Green Party representatives within the new EU Parliament. And this is, in my opinion, one of a very important sign of the change of the system, because we have to challenge the fast-changing environment. And this fast-changing environment literally is connected to natural environment as well. There are many changes here. We can talk about politics. We can talk about threats of some political ambitions of some politicians all around the world. But finally, maybe in 1 or 2 decades, we will find a common ground for the substantial sources of energy and life. including water. And then all these political discussions will be only a sort of narration which is out of context, while problems will be completely different located.
I'm curious about this European Union integration movement that had been going on after the World War II. Do you think that nowadays the identity as a European maybe now is stronger than identity of a certain, like I'm France, or I'm a German national, or I'm a Polish national these days? So it's not overpowering to suppress individual identity yet.
Well, as I said, we are aware of some more national-related partisan movement that poured into the EU Parliament and have a substantial representation. But still, I think that they can reinvigorate political class in order to face challenges posed by the fast-changing environment. That definitely, I'm deeply convinced that the EU has a bright future and will continue to serve as a role model of integration for other regions or other regional organizations. Once we keep to the common values of human rights, democratic order, freedom of speech, looking into respect of the needs of local communities, I think we still have and we will keep the bright future for it.
Okay, we'll take a short break. 我们休息一下，等一下回来，我们继续跟梅西亚处长来谈，他作为一个外交官怎么样来看中国大陆以及两岸之间的关系。我们待会儿继续谈。